like shit, and her daughter stopped talking to her and went no
Okay,
contact. And
I think I went
it's
live.
like an hour-long documentary about how she's the victim. There's some great content in there for you to understand what's going through that person's mind on that side of the equation. Because there's so many times where they're like, oh, I kept texting her on her birthday and holidays to see if I could get something from her, and she wouldn't give it to me. And so eventually I gave up. And it's like, that is really the key. I went through the exact same thing with my dad. He, for years, would try to use every opportunity of a special event as an excuse to wedge it in the door. Can't give it to him. You can't give him a bite, because then they will run with it.
Yeah. I haven't really thought about it in a long time, but I kind of did the same thing with my mom. Like it was like birthdays, or like your cat died or stuff like that. And I was like, I haven't seen that cat in 7 years anyway. Like, why are you texting me about it? It's just because you're trying to get in here.
Yep.
Yeah. You just gotta deny.
What's really funny is, so
my pronouns are she, her.
My dad made me go hunting a lot when I was younger. That was one of the like masculinizing things we did. And it's one of the things that I hated as a kid, but now as an adult, I'm like, that's a good skill. I kind of like that I have that skill.
Let's go rabbit hunting. Come on, Arden.
Right? But one of the ways that my dad tries to connect with me is when he kills a deer during hunting season. He'll send me a picture, and I'm always like, I don't know how to express to you that while I appreciate the value of hunting,
I figured out how to get the chat on OBS, so
and
yay.
Like, being in touch with nature or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
It's also important conservation work.
And in a lot of cases, especially with deer and animals like that, it can be important conservation work. However, I never, ever want you to send me a picture of your dead deer to be like proud of you for getting it. Like, I don't know how to express that I don't value the like,
okay, I have the chat on my phone.
200 pounds and your deer is 100 set. Like, I just don't give a fuck about that at all. Like, cool, you're providing for your family. I appreciate that. Ew, stop texting me because you killed a deer. I don't need to see the bloody carcass on the forest floor. Okay.
Yeah.
We have super chats. And I figured out that it's not the same one that I decided in the pre-show. I don't know what that one is, but this one's really fun. National parks to laser tag arenas. Mow down all the national parks. We're putting in the laser tag arenas.
Laser tag, 100%.
So there we go. Decide which ridiculous poll we should do. EC is Electoral College. So, sorry, mods. When people inevitably say they don't know what that means, you'll have to explain that to them. But the rest of it, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. So, super chats. Let's go. Okay. Ooh, you want to start with that awesome math one from Sean Isherwood?
Okay, let me rewind.
I'm so excited.
There we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Transatlantic Call-In Show. This is the place where you get to call in and talk to two trans people about all your questions, anything and everything trans-related. So whether you are an ally who maybe has a controversial hot take, or whether you are somebody who thinks that Richard Dawkins is right and that, you know, biology textbooks are wrong when they say that biology isn't binary, you can call in too. We're happy to talk to you. I hope you answer questions honestly, and like direct questions, you answer them and don't try to anticipate where we're going, because if we get some like dishonest dodging, I'm gonna get upset. You're gonna get defensive because I got upset, and it's just not gonna be good for everyone. So let's just try to have a productive conversation where we answer direct questions and make progress. I am steering the ship.
Yeah, I need to do that. I need to make an opening slogan.
Yes, we've been like doing the dream team for a couple of streams here. Next month we're gonna get broken up a little bit.
I'm not gonna polarize and read my chat out loud,
we'll
but
get some more variety. Ben's coming back. We got some Josie next month. It's exciting. I'm excited for March. I'm becoming a springtime.
Because some of y'all be unhinged.
I've always been an autumn person, but
Yep.
Yeah, I know. Hello, Puppies and Kittens is like
Spring
my
has
favorite.
This, like, you know, it's the new life energy where you're like, I'm excited. I'm full of like new things. So yeah, I feel that. I'm excited for spring, and also I'm excited. Line's got so much cool stuff coming up.
And I can't say good morning, internet, because that's really taken too.
Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Central Time, we're doing a Cause I Wanna. I'm doing a Cause I Wanna with Javon Bradley. Hopefully I'm saying the name right, but if you haven't watched him, he is a Twitch streamer. He's on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. I would go check him out.
Bryce says you should read chat out loud, so there you go. I'm reading chat out loud.
On trans rights, but unfortunately,
unless the comment is inappropriate, yeah.
And so I'm gonna have him on because I want.
Some of y'all be
unhinged,
stuff,
but
so
not have to necessarily have the host be trans. So
I'm saying as if I have really people fun. That watch me regularly, because I don't. But
yeah, there's something else that's really cool that's coming to the line. I can't say it yet. It's not confirmed. I don't have everything locked in. But be excited. Be excited. Cool stuff.
Looking forward to it. Yeah.
That's right. So let me see. I'm realizing I did not format the poll things. So no, I'm ruining everything. I was about to go to the poll and be like so smooth, but unfortunately
the hotter host,
I missed a step in my routine.
Ooh,
okay, here we go.
Or Bright says who's the hotter host on the line.
All right, last week's poll reads, should hospitals continue administering gender
I am like so gay for Arden. I'm not even gonna lie. Like
87% said yes and 13% said no, and that's with 9.2 thousand votes. And I think for the most part what I said, the people who were saying no, it was kind of what we talked about
but
last
also
week,
Forrest, but he's married, so
for the broader community, and that, you know, if their hospitals get shut down, they're not going to be able to treat other people, which, like we talked about last week, is something that I think I'm also obviously heavily considering. But yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts you want to add on this.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you know, I understand that each hospital and each program has to make decisions, in some cases, about whether they even exist.
You know what? I'm not going to read that out loud.
I personally would like to see as much resistance as possible. So it's like, to the extent that it's possible to continue providing care to everyone, including trans people, please do that for as long as possible, even if it puts you in trouble potentially as a provider. Because it's only going to be through throwing numerous wrenches in a relationship with Matt. Like attacking it from multiple different angles.
I think they did an episode together, actually.
Include lawsuits. So like wrongful stripping of your medical license or whatever. Like there are going to have to be so many different types of resistance. Some of them are going to fall within the legal framework. Some are going to fall outside of this newly created legal framework. So, and like, yeah, it's debatable whether any of this stuff is even legal anyway. Every single executive order comes with a little caveat that says, to the extent that it is doable within currently applicable law. So technically these executive orders aren't even really changing the law, which is why I encourage hospitals to continue providing the care, because your advanced compliance will not stop it from getting worse. So please resist where
I answered it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
no, absolutely.
I'm supposed to read the chat. I'm sorry. I'm so bad at this. I'm not a good live streamer.
Okay.
What do you think of this poll?
That's strange.
I answered it, I think.
Could you mute yourself for a second?
And I said,
talk a little.
I said yes. So that was my answer.
So Luxus put its thumb up. If you guys are hearing me right now and you can not hear an echo, tell me. Then we know what's going on. But otherwise, it's on my end, and I have to fucking sort some shit.
It shouldn't be because they can hear you through my stuff. Because I'm on the
You got headphones in, yeah. Not echoey, just really boomy. I have 2 different noise cancelers on, but it's kind of quiet in here right now. So let me turn off one. Does that change the audio quality for you guys?
A little bit clearer.
Are all my 4 viewers Bryce on 4 different accounts?
Yeah, it was just a little tinny.
I'm not complaining, but like I'm just curious.
Okay, well with that hopefully kind of sorted, we'll see. Let's read this week's poll. So this week's poll is oops, I didn't do my job. Hold on everybody. I'm sorry, man.
It's a day.
This is what you guys tuned in to see. I just want you guys to know that this is what you tuned in to see. Oh, I don't have the right poll thing.
I know.
In my files right now. Something happened. So this week's poll,
I have them
it
too,
is
I
in chat
think.
right now, is have you heard of the lavender scare? Or it should be, why is everything breaking? Hold on, chat. Hold on, chat.
We're struggling.
Not
Ah,
Arden.
you know what's
You're only
breaking
on two.
everything?
Okay.
Is that, I think this happened like a couple weeks ago. YouTube decided it would be a really good time to log me out.
I love people that
as
just
soon
watch
as
and
the
don't
episode
comment.
started. Like they let me get the episode
Just kidding, it's
started,
fine. You don't have to comment.
and
my
then
God, I
logged me
hate
out. So yes, the poll that was supposed to go to you guys was, have you heard of the lavender scare? So that is this week's poll. Please answer that. That is up on the
Have you guys heard of that? Because I have not heard of
for
that.
real. We'll come back and talk about that. There, I have no graphic. It's lost. That part of the episode is dead. All right. So, but yes,
But
we will talk about
it.
Yes.
If you don't know what the lavender scare is, we'll tell you what it is, but we're going to take a couple calls first.
Oh, right. Let's see. Who do we got for callers? Let's talk to Brandon in Tennessee.
Yeah, I know. People that watch but don't comment are called
says
lurkers.
county is attacking a
I
club
know.
enemy over LGBTQ presenting students. I assume that's supposed to be. So
I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes
Brandon,
I do that.
you
So.
are live on the line with Arden and Lux. What's going on?
Hi, Arden. How are you doing?
Doing all right. Yeah, why don't you tell us what's going on?
Okay, so long story short here, I live in a county in Tennessee, of course. I'm a teacher. And basically, I had a club, and that club was
Also, on my phone, there seems to be a little bit of a delay.
Made up of LGBTQ plus people.
But on my computer when I'm streaming, like I can hear
they
it.
decided just to start attacking me. And eventually,
like in real time, I don't know.
Wasn't renewed. I went through all kinds of stuff. And basically, what happened was I threatened to sue them and get the Department of Justice involved, and they had me arrested.
Wow.
So yeah. So this is no joke. The rights are going away. I'm maybe a cis white guy. You know, I'm just a guy. I'm not trans or anything. I'm just a regular old white guy. And this county is the most corrupt place I've ever seen. And they basically ended my career because I teach physics and math, but I have degrees in, upper physics and stuff. And it pretty much ruined my career and everything. And I'm thinking, what do? I can't protect these student rights. That's what I was trying to do. And apparently they're like, oh, you want to try to protect the rights? We'll just put you in jail.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So,
yeah.
I'm a little bit curious. You mentioned like they attacked you and they arrested you. Is they like the school board or who is they exactly?
Yeah, it was the SRO that literally delivered a thing to me, banning me from the property. And then the next day I was arrested.
Wow.
And that was because of your, you have a TTRPG club, like you have a tabletop gaming club that happens to have a lot of queer students in it. And you're just like trying to stand up for them.
Yeah,
and they're
I
just
meant
like,
the
we're
video.
gonna fire you. That's crazy.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I was trying to fight for them. See, we had all kinds of fundraisers. I stayed after school, and I played Magic the Gathering with them. Whatever. We did everything, and we had a bunch of money that had come in, and they wouldn't let the students spend it the way they wanted it. And I said, no, that's their money. And then they're like, well, they don't have to know why they're not allowed to spend money. I'm like, these are not kindergartners. These are high schoolers. They earn the money. They deserve to be able to spend the money.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just one thing after another. Like, they just fought me tooth and nail.
Wow.
I don't know if you've talked to the ACLU. I also know, I don't know if it's A4TE or if it's like in a partner organization that handles a lot of like trans specific like human rights violations. So it might be worth contacting an organization like this. I think you would probably have pretty good standing to make a case that would get like funded by, one of these organizations. So it might be worth looking into that. But yeah, I mean, this is fascism. This is why we're talking about the need for community outside of school and things like this. Like we really need to be like person to person, neighbor to neighbor, taking care of each other, because that's the only place where we're not going to have school resource officers and other governing bodies who are going to intervene with a teacher having a club where some students hang out and have fun, but they happen to be queer. Yeah, this is really fucked up. I'm sorry to hear about this, Brandon.
Yeah, they've got DOJ sanctions against them right now already.
Okay.
Oh, really? That's kind of surprising, honestly. Yeah. Given the current state of the DOJ, I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, they've been sued like 7 times already because of racism. So,
okay.
And the DOJ says you make one more boo-boo and we're going to pull your funding.
Right.
Well, that might be what they're doing to me to try to make sure they don't get another boo-boo.
Sure, they just want you to kind of, as a problem, they want you to just go away instead of this being another case of them being at fault for discriminatory practices. Yeah.
It's so frustrating
because we're going to intimidate him into not, suing us, basically.
What's your favorite show on the line?
This is the frustrating thing,
Chewed Gum, but I'm biased because I'm gonna call in on Tuesday.
It's specifically made.
I also really do like this show, the Transatlantic call-in show.
The Republicans have, made it so that trans kids can't even participate in their after-school
And I like the Sunday show if Forrest is on.
They can go, whoa, we've never passed any law like that. What do you mean? And it's like,
or like
you didn't pass
Sunday,
a law,
the After Dark is what they call it, I think.
Walked around with your big stick in front of every single, school board saying, if we find out that you are enabling queer people in any kind of way, we're going to take your funding. And what public school isn't completely dependent on federal funding, right? So, yeah, it is, it's fucked up. This is fascism. This is what the early steps of a trans genocide are going to look like, is things like this. Completely.
And see, it don't just stop there either. They wouldn't let us, sell food and stuff. And I'm like, what about the Christian
any show with
organization
Forrest?
that gives
Yeah,
away
100%.
free tater tots every
or
month?
Aaron Raw.
How are they allowed to do that, but we're not allowed
But
to
also, Erica.
Yeah.
I specifically like when Erica's on because she gets a bunch of puns and she gets so annoyed.
To become a problem
but
for
it's
the
funny.
DOJ. Like that's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought I would let people know that, I think people don't get it. It's like, well, it's only affecting the 2%. It's like, no, it's not. It's affecting everyone. Anybody that's got a backbone, it's going to affect them because, you either going to, I don't know. It's just ridiculous. Civil rights violations out the wazoo, and they just don't care.
Yeah, it's true. I will say, as far as next steps for you, Brandon, being in that situation, obviously extremely stressful. You've lost your income. You probably have people who need you to have an income, right? So I would say, obviously contacting the ACLU, because that is a very clear, I feel it should be pretty clear, wrongful termination. And
I'm just realizing I should have brought water in here.
I don't know what the law is like in Tennessee. Obviously, it's kind of the South.
It's
probably. Right word state. Yeah. And then also
because the 8-hour
future employment opportunities. I don't know what
I was gonna do a reaction to that, do
knowledge is, but you could potentially
to the callers
look at
specifically
private institutions like a college to see if you could potentially still have a job doing what you are good at. I know it's going to be difficult if you're used to working with high school students.
Okay, I'm gonna go get water. I'm gonna.
It seems like
BRB
private institutions are going to be one of the things that we're going to have to unfortunately rely on to kind of try to protect us in that way that we were talking before a few months ago about if Disney stands up to Ron DeSantis or whatever, these private corporations who have a moneyed interest in mind, but if the Overton window is swinging in that way where it's it is more profitable because people will boycott if you are right-wing as a company, we can hope that those private institutions are still going to hold. But again, it being Tennessee, it's going to be a little bit of a job search for you, for sure.
Yeah, I just wanted, so what you would suggest is maybe I thought about the ACLU, not on my end, but the kids' end, I just don't know how to save they don't even have toilet paper in the bathrooms.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't get nobody to help. So maybe the ACLU is where I need to go then.
At least asking, inquiring to see what kind of work they do and what type of case this could
reaction would be fun.
Result in for them.
It also, you might need to start putting together some sort of community thing to solve problems like funding for toilet paper and stuff. Because remember, Donald Trump is intending to destroy the Department of Education, like completely vaporize it. So there's going to be no real system for which schools can appeal to the federal government and be like, hey, we can't even afford toilet paper. Can we get more money? Like, so yeah, I think these are going to need to be often, in a lot of cases, community efforts. And I think people like you are the perfect person who can be like, hey, somebody has to look out for these kids. It's got to be somebody local, collecting from local people. And I think a lot of people are willing to help out with schools and stuff like that are local to them. So hopefully that could be a good effort for you.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too, and maybe that's what I'll have to do. But my problem is I can't reach out right now because literally I'm not allowed to post anything on social media or I go to jail. So I can't do any outreach to anybody.
Investigation. Wow. I mean, yeah, I would say, I mean, are you allowed to go to the grocery store? Because there's got to be somebody in your local community who
Yeah.
I mean,
the kids are behind me.
Yeah, frankly, go to the news, like local news stations, and say, like, they don't have toilet paper in these schools, and yet here they are coming after me and
Also,
like doing all
I don't
this.
know if I'm
And,
gonna be
and
able to stream
obviously,
this whole thing
if
because
they
I do
get
have
entangled in
something else I
another
need to
lawsuit,
do
that's
in
more
like an
money gone
hour.
from the district. No wonder they can't afford all this.
But
Like,
we'll
frankly,
see.
I think picking things up with local news stations is another thing that we're gonna have to get involved in. It's like, while you're working with the ACLU, contacting the local news organizations, and just saying your truth, just saying this is what's happening. I care about these kids and their education. And
But I
I'm
promise
just trying to
y'all
help
I was
them have
going live
fun
today,
and
so
build
I am
like
live.
social
You're
like
welcome.
connections with one another and contribute to the community, because you said you're trying to, you want to like make and distribute food as like a community good, and they're just not letting you. So all of this, frankly, is like the perfect kind of story, and you are kind of the perfect person to be at the center of that as like a cis white man. You've been a teacher for a while, and for you to be punished like this and be potentially screwed
Yeah,
out of a
my
long-term
club has a
career
game
beyond
night
this,
tonight,
I think that would be a
so
good
and then
spin
I'm
for an
going
organization like
golfing
the
at
ACLU to latch
Topgolf.
on to.
So
Absolutely. You got a whole like reverse cancellation thing, right? Like the right was for years complaining about how if they said, the T slur on Twitter, that they would lose their job and they were just the biggest victims of cancel culture. And then here you are having your career destroyed, not because you teach LGBTQ stuff, not because you are a school counselor who told a kid that they were trans, but because you ran a group that happened to have a high representation of queer people in it. Like, that is the epitome of cancel culture. I think there's definitely something there that can be jumped on. And while the cops may have some sort of rules about your social media posts, I completely agree with Lex. Go to the news. The news can report it as much as they fucking want. And that's the kind of shit they love. Like, oh, we can't speak up for this guy, or, this guy can't speak up for himself. Like, yeah, that could be a really good story. So, I don't know. Yeah, you got something there, Brandon.
Sorry, I lost you. My phone went to sleep.
Oh no, that's all right. You can watch it back and catch anything you missed, but just I do think going to the news is a good option. Is the summary of what I said. So,
well, I appreciate both of you giving me the time, and it was good. It feels good to talk to two people that I know are allies, because around here, it's just you're by yourself.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We depend on people like you and communities like that. So thank you, Brandon. I appreciate your time.
I know, and one thing I just need to say one thing before I go. You
Sure.
got to say it. One, Matt, you're gay, homie, and two, tell Jimmy to go fuck himself.
Sure.
Right on.
oh, you guys are gonna hear it in a few
Talk to you
seconds.
later.
But that's what I laughed at.
Right on. Yeah, I think it's just in so many areas that kind of stuff is just a complete display of hypocrisy, right? Like, it's like satanic panic, free speech problems, cancel culture. It's like everything they claim to be against happening to one individual. All right. So I don't have the graphic for the poll. So I guess we're just gonna sit here, the two of our faces. But looks like currently Let's see. Let me end this poll, get those final results. 67% of people say no, they haven't heard of the Lavender Scare, and 32% say yes. I know sometimes people called it the Lavender Menace, so maybe that's the confusion, but I think there's a difference between the Lavender Menace and the Lavender Scare. The Lavender Scare was like federal employees being fired for being suspected of being gay was basically like a mass firing was what that event was. Whereas I think the Lavender Menace is more like generally stoking fear about queer people and kind of particularly lesbians, but also generally queer people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lux, you want to dig in more on that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, so we're bringing this up for a specific reason. So we're giving you the historical context for an event that is happening currently because, you know, frankly, for a lot of these things going on, we have historical precedent for, and you should know what's happening next. When we see these patterns start to bear out, we can see what occurs following that. So just looking at U.S. history, the Lavender Scare, is this moment in U.S. history where, like, it's similar sort of to the Red Scare, where if you were suspected of a communist, they would fire you and you would never be able to work again, blah, blah, blah. Same type of thing happening to gay people. And actually, I remember reading something from the military. I don't remember which division of the military it was, but during the Lavender Scare, they were like being issued guidance to go fire all of the lesbians in this particular division. And the response back was like, you will have no secretaries, you will have no nurses. Like, you don't understand the level, which is kind of where the concept of don't ask, don't tell emerges from in the military, where they're like, well, okay, just kind of keep it to yourself, okay? We don't really want to lose all of these women who support this organization, but we don't want you to be gay, so you just need to pretend like you're not while you're working. So what we're experiencing now is about 100 employees have been terminated, intelligence employees, which, to be clear, like we talked about a few weeks ago with are we undermining the strength of the US military and our power, like, globally by removing trans people? The kind of people who are being eliminated from intelligence positions are like people who've been doing it for a really long time that you might not want to not have anymore. But it was basic stuff. I know the Dead Domain on their channel, they went over like, here's what was actually in the text logs. And it was just normal stuff from trans and queer people talking about something was being portrayed as a urine fetish when it was just trans women talking about how things have changed when they go pee since they've had bottom surgery. So it's just totally normal stuff. And this is like a chat that was related to like the organization in the sense that it was a bunch of people who worked there, but it wasn't like an official work chat or anything. So these people have been fired for their private communications about totally normal stuff. You know, like post-hysterectomy women will talk about changes in their pelvic floor system, or like after I can't hold my pee after I had 5 kids. They are okay to do that stuff, according to society. But 100 highly skilled intelligence agents have just been eliminated. And we also are seeing like an outright trans ban coming up. And these things are concerning because if you look also at Nazi Germany, they had a huge purge of Jewish individuals in the military prior to their escalation. So this is why we're drawing your attention to these things. We want you to know about the historical parallels. This is happening now. There is going to be more bullshit coming soon. And we need to start really, really, really understanding that this is happening now. And we don't have time anymore to try to figure it out or like hope that things don't get worse. Yeah. It's already bad.
And it's already on an unmovable, like it's a fixed path towards getting worse. Like it will get worse. Period.
This is not a slippery slope argument. Like I want to be completely clear. Yeah. There is a set path. They have stated their intentions. They are following through on their intentions. They just got rid of the rule that says you can't surveil people just because they're gay or trans. You like I might be under surveillance right now and I would not know. And that's the situation that we are in, it's very serious. So like, yeah, we appreciate y'all watching and being here, and we hope that you take everything you learn here and you take it out in the world and start like really working against this, because we cannot do it alone. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's also good advice, you know, as we're seeing these sorts of things happen, that people be more wary of, you know, how you behave, how you communicate, and how you interact with things online. Make sure that your data safety is as good as possible, because I think we're, man, it's a whole different game, you know. I do think we are flirting with the beginnings of a trans genocide. Maybe we're already in the middle of one. Yeah, it's rough out here, fam. I mean, literally, this teacher just told a story about how he got fired from a D&D club. Not D&D.
Tabletop, whatever. D&D is tabletop.
D&D.
It's
a D&D group.
It's like styrofoam, you know?
Yeah.
It's just from the universal term.
Right. He got fired from a D&D group because there were queer people in his group. Like, that is fascism. Like, anything that goes against what we say is the case. I mean that's authoritarianism. Fascism, I guess, is that plus nationalism and misogyny. Hatred for xenophobia maybe is a better. Yeah, it's rough out here. I see some people also confirming that yeah, Lavender Menace is more specifically about like a lesbian women's rights movement, whereas the Lavender Scare was what we were talking about. So got it right. Know my queer history. Hey baby. That's right. We like to talk about queer history here. It's important for you guys to understand the like historical context to everything that's going on, because this isn't new. This is why it's terrifying to people. Oh,
I can totally
God.
substantiate the trans genocide thing. I would love for us to get a caller who's like, it's not trans genocide, and I'm gonna be like, I have a graphic.
Right.
Like, I can go through every step.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a really interesting call. I hope someone calls in about that. But okay, so let's see. We've got a bunch of callers on the line. I want to get to all of you. All right, we're gonna talk to Rogue Without a Pause. Okay. They, them in USA says that censorship is coming down the pipeline with education research regarding trans people. So, Rogue, you are live. Tell us what's going on.
Hello, Arden and Lux.
Hello.
Sorry if I talk super fast or anything when I get excited or just anxious. That happens. But yeah, so I am a trans researcher and professor working in education reform.
I also talk
and
fast when I
told, hey, don't study
get excited
anymore,
or anxious. So
we're being given and circulated different lists of terms that we're use if we plan on any of our funding to actually go through. And since literally all of that, for the most part, unless you can find some sort of private firm who's interested in like helping your particular population of interest, you're going to be completely cut off. Like I have several friends who signed on for like several year-long grants that were already promised and already allocated for, and that's just kind of gone away. And then just to kind of really just shout from the mountains how bad it is, the Tennessee story is not too unlike what I'm hearing from colleagues from across like the U.S., where literally just the implication of supporting the trans agenda, like an example, if a student asks for a due date to be adjusted due to getting gender affirming care, like say a top surgery or even just like a facial feminization surgery, and the professor is seen saying, yeah, of course, that is a investigatable offense. And like
wow.
I want
we're all
Lux's
just
mug.
sitting here still trying to make education better and like help those who have been kind of fucked by the system forever. And now we're getting dumbed down to, I I think the exact language was, we are building talent for the workforce, is like the only way we can really say, hey, we're trying to lift people up and give them skills so for their own like self-actualization, not to go work for a corporation. And it's just,
it's so silly. It makes me think of like the way that like YouTube or TikTok or Instagram will censor certain words. And because of that, people still talk about all of the things that are censored. They just have to do it in the most annoying and cumbersome way, where it's like, you know, segs, or like they'll say corn instead of adult content, right? And it feels like I suspect going forward that research won't fundamentally change much, but you guys are just going to have to like speak in parcel tongue to code things in such a way to pass the approval
what are you
of
referring to?
the federal government, which seems so fucking ridiculous.
Oh
Yeah, like it seems like it's functionally impossible to do the research that you do if it's about trans people. Like feels like, how do you talk around it? I don't know that it's possible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're not even just limiting it to trans people. Like,
oh, are we just using
list of terms on there is terms like implicit bias,
the not actual word
population, as in like a population with exceptionalities. Like, it's just so dumbed down to where like there's any sort of room for diversity there.
Oh, YouTube censored words. Okay, got it.
The death sentence for grants and stuff, and it makes me think about all of the, you know, admittedly bad faith actors I've seen on here who will bring up the CAS report, or just like really poorly done research that is not like defined in a very specific way to justify their beliefs and stuff. And they're now kneecapping us researchers who are using precise language for a precise reason. And now it just makes it so much easier for bad information to proliferate if we can't even say bias. Like,
I mean, that's what they want. You know, I hate to be a conspiracy theorist, but I've been dying to talk about this. I saw some clip of some billionaire at some convention. I don't know if it was CPAC. It may have been CPAC. It was basically saying that they fully intend to cause, and I have no way to confirm that this is actually a plan of the Trump administration.
You can say it, but YouTube will demonetize the video.
Speculating on something I saw on the internet. That they fully intend to cause. They want people to be uneducated. They want people to have no access to good information. They want bad health outcomes, and they want the economy to collapse because they feel that the working class has become too awakened to their station, and they want to remind them that they depend on the elite class, the employers, for a job. Like the specific phrasing was something to the effect of like they've flipped the dynamic, the power structure, where now we answer to them, where they think we depend on them, but they depend on us.
Also, I thought my chat was broken because no one was commenting. But
it doesn't make any sense to pause. But like what RFK has instructed, you know, the organization that they need like run up time to pick which strain of the flu vaccine they're going to work with to effectively immunize the population. And they're canceling that meeting. What purpose could you possibly have to cancel immunizing people against the fucking flu unless you want death and suffering to ensue? Like, I don't know. I am being a little conspiratorial here, and I'll fully own that, but it feels,
honestly, though, it fits the facts because I've been doing my best to track bills in different areas.
Everyone subscribe to The Line. Today's episode, is brought to you by The Line. Yes. Not sponsored, but
it's already ran by the states. I don't know what the hell he's talking about there, but he keeps saying like
also
Indiana,
The Line has a podcast, so go subscribe to that channel as well.
And I think
they don't take calls on their podcast, but
making a wedge into the coffers.
The channel is literally called The Line Has a Podcast.
Cracking it all the way open to give to charter schools, or is being used to full on shut down schools
Yeah.
just because
Yeah.
their attendance has dropped too much for the charter schools. And so it's like, where are those kids gonna go? And
Yeah.
there are a lot of signs of lowering the standards to have a less educated populace, and a less educated populace is always easier to control. It's like the dumbing down of just the Civil War in the last, well, I mean, forever, but like the dumbing down of the Civil War has made it so much easier to just kind of write off all of like the Reconstruction and all of the terrible like terroristic attacks on Black people, and it's just
Also,
kind of like massage the narrative. So
you can blame Bryce
I
for my
don't know if
addiction
they're
to this show.
intentionally doing everything we're
But
saying, but
no, honestly, I love the
the
line. It's
results,
great.
I mean, it's a
Even though
depiction
some of the
it
callers give
without
me
a difference,
headaches.
unfortunately.
Yeah. The phrase that I always like to come back to here is the purpose of a system is its outcomes. So even if the stated intention is we want everybody to have opportunities, we want everybody to have a full-time job and they earn their wage and whatever, blah, blah, blah. We want everybody to be insured. But the actual thing that is happening is like not record unemployment because everybody has multiple jobs, but like a very bad economy, right? And people are dying and people are on the streets. Homelessness is on the rise. The system is producing its intended outcomes if that is what is happening.
Yeah,
If
I'm
we
glad you
don't
gave
want
the line
homeless
a
people,
chance. Yeah, of
then
course
we
I'm
would do
giving it a
things in a different
chance.
way. We would give UBI or we would give unconditional housing. So like this is
Yeah.
the problem that I have with neoliberalism is that they don't actually want to solve homelessness.
Because the
They just
first
want
call
it
you
to
heard
go
was
away
boring. I don't remember
No.
and anything
what the
actually
first.
happening
You mean
to
the
solve
first
the
call
problem,
on
right?
this
So
particular
yeah, I mean,
episode,
I don't
or
think that this is. I don't think this is
like
conspiracy
ever? The
theorizing.
when I started watching.
Like sometimes things just are a conspiracy, but also like a conspiracy happens in private. None of this is private. Project 2025. They made a
Yeah.
fucking website for it.
Unless you're
You know what I
talking
mean?
about
Like
the
you
show
could
that you
go to a
did, in
website
which case it
called
wasn't
Project
boring.
2025 and read their agenda from themselves, and then here we see it bearing out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's really all I had. Just wanted to sound the alarm because I'm not seeing enough of it. And
Like
with how
ever the one you started. Yeah, I
slow-moving
don't remember
a lot of like
what that one
research
was.
is. Like literally, I'm on a project that has been like working for over a decade now, and just with a tweet, like everything has to stop, and we're all like, "Hey,
Well, I
are we
guess
working
yours
now?
wasn't
Do
really
we
a
get
call because
paid
you were
Yeah.
just on with
next year? Is my
Aaron.
contract
But
going to be fulfilled?" And it's
anyway.
it's frustrating.
And you're finding out
to
on
carry,
Twitter.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But thanks for taking my call, guys. Love the show.
Yeah, thanks for calling. We really appreciate it, Rogue. You have a good day, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Wow. I didn't really foresee this being how Takis goes for the next few months, but I guess it makes sense. I was like, oh, I didn't know we were gonna have like callers who are like, here's how the fascism is impacting me personally. Like, okay. Now I'm like, okay, I can just listen to this story now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do so much better when I'm not on shows, like to not pay attention to it, because man, it's just all day, every day right now.
Yeah, oh same. I know I'm not doing particularly great. It's weird. I told you before I'm oscillating because like my personal life is the best it's ever been. My career is the best it's ever been.
True.
But also when I wake up in the morning and see that the country is collapsing, I just fully dissociate because I'm like, I can't even engage with that. Like that has to get locked away in a part of my brain that I don't open because like, oh my God, actually there was a great remix that one of the like news comedians grabbed from, it was like a viral TikTok, which was basically somebody being like, the country is collapsing, but I still have to go to work today. And I'm
I know
like,
exactly
that is,
what you mean.
that
It was
is how
John
I
Oliver's
feel
show. Yeah.
every fucking day. I'm like, oh my God, like the country's
Yeah, what is it?
collapsing.
Yeah.
But-
There's a hostile government takeover.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yes. Oh, it's so good.
It's such a bop, and it's so sad that I'm like, yeah, this is it, and like this is how we have to, like, genuinely, you guys, like, you have to have fun, you have to be able to poke a little
Mhm.
fun out of it.
Honestly,
You
like,
can't let them terrorize
with
you
this whole
like all
political
day, every
climate,
day,
Yeah.
you
I've
know? And
been
so this is one of the ways you can
dissociating a
take
lot,
that feeling that you're
and I'm
having
not
and then
even
put it
trans,
in a little
but
song that a bunch of other people
yeah,
are then gonna
it's
remix on top of.
ridiculous.
That's how you build class solidarity, babes. That's how
I
you
just
do
have this
it.
like fantasy of this like plot of land, right? And there's like 20 plus little tiny houses, and we all get together like once a week, and we just like dance in the middle, and we're all queer, and we all just like are listening to Chappell Roan and having a good time,
Chappell
and like
Roan. I love
taking
Chappell
care of
Roan.
each other, taking care of our people. I don't know. That is like my fantasy escapism that I've been living in my head.
Everybody, I'm trying to convince Arden to move to Oregon with me.
Oregon
Only a little
commune.
bit. Truly though, like there's plenty of space up here, you know? But
Yeah,
man,
yeah, it's rough out here, but all right, we got more calls. I'm probably gonna close the lines because we do have full lines right now, and I think all of these calls will take us. It's gonna be like a long show, even if I close the lines now, we
Yeah.
get to all of them. So,
no worries.
yeah, I'm gonna close them down. Jess, if you can hear me, I am closing the lines, and you are free to go whenever you please. Shout out to Jess, you guys. She's awesome. She's fantastic. Oh, and she caught a band caller who had evaded me. So
Let's go, Jess.
good, Jess. Killing it today.
Shout out
Thank
to
you.
Jess.
All right. Do you want to do? I'm kind of interested in Michael on line 6. Oh wait,
Yeah, sure. I
is
see
that
which
the
one you
one?
mean,
Wait, no, there was a different one that was in that position, and now it's
Andrew.
gone. Oh yeah. Andrew. So I want to talk to you. You're right, 100%. Okay. Andrew in Michigan, pronouns are he, him, has no problem
That's
with
my
transgender
ex's
people
name,
who wants to
Andrew.
talk about trans sports. So, Andrew, you are. Oops, I didn't hit the button. Let's try that again. Andrew, you are live on the line with Arden and Lux. Tell us what's going on.
Hello, ladies. How are you?
One of us is not a lady, but thank you so much for being here.
I'm very sorry. I wasn't trying to do that.
Oof, we're already not on a good start.
Computer, or if you at least.
No worries.
Good call.
All right, give me a moment. Yeah, no, we're cool. All right. So, you know what? I believe everything that you guys have said all the way up to this point, but I'm a 60-year-old man. I'm heterosexual, so no problem there. It's just the way I'm built.
Yeah, oof.
But the problem is, and this is the problem that I see, is that one final step for some of these religious people, like people men playing in women's sports and such like that, is that they just cannot, they cannot deal with that. But I've also played sports. And I mean, for the longest time, there was battles about, girls playing boys sports. And I was always like, that's crazy. No problem. If that girl is good enough, let her play. But then, men playing in women's sports. I used to play sports. I know a lot of people. And I know for a fact that men playing in a women's sport is dramatically different. And I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that.
Wow.
Sure. Yeah.
Go for it.
I like talking about this issue. I know that some people are getting bored with it, but I feel like I've just recently kind of gotten all my arguments together. So happy to discuss.
Okay.
So first of all,
No, I'm actually, trust me, I am totally on your side. So you're not really trying to fight somebody here.
Sure. No. It's
But
good. It's good.
I know how to address it. That constantly comes up. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So basically, like, we do see averages between men
I
and
am on
women's
your side. Yeah,
different
okay, sure.
performance, right? And it seems like those things, there are some biological components to it.
That's like saying
But we have
no
actually seen some
offense
evidence
and then
that
saying something
these differences in
offensive.
performance are actually more strongly correlated with poor funding for sports when people are younger. So testosterone makes a minor difference in sports performance between men and women if we're just not even talking about trans people, right? So we can see
Well, I'm just talking
Also,
about
this is
even the
definitely
size
turning into a
difference,
reaction
maybe,
and
Right,
not
yeah,
a
yeah.
Q&A, but that's
Give me one
fine.
We'll
second.
get there, Andrew. We'll get there. Andrew.
Give me a second, Andrew.
All right,
We'll get
I'm with
there.
you. I'm following. I'm listening.
So there seem to be some differences in performance that seem to be more strongly correlated with training, good coaches, good equipment, good funding at the younger ages. And frankly, there is still a disparity even at the, higher levels of sports performance. We do see, like, obviously there are some averages, like, men tend to be somewhat taller, but I don't think that that's a good argument to say we should segregate sports on the basis
That's
of
true. I
sex.
did answer
Because you have women.
questions.
Hold on, Andrew. I love you very much, and I would really
Okay,
appreciate it if you would not
I'm
interrupt me.
no problem. Finish up.
Right. So there are women like Gwendolyn Christie, who is an actress who's like more than 6 feet
Arden
tall.
is such a mood
So
right
we
now.
can't say because men on average are taller, we should have a like industry-wide permanent separation of the sports.
It's a statistical abnormality, man. There is not like a Griner.
But Andrew, but you can't make sweeping. Hold on, you cannot make sweeping judgments about entire groups of people if there are exceptions to that rule that you're trying to create, right? And that's just talking about men and women and the difference in sports performance between the two of them. We have seen if you give these people the same level of access to good coaches and all this, the performance tends to equal out. Now we also see that performance is negatively impacted.
I played sports,
Andrew,
and I disagree
excuse me.
entirely.
Hold on.
Well, wait,
I'm interested in having the discussion with you.
So I'm just
I'm giving you all the information,
and
I will give you an opportunity to come in.
If this man does not stop
Andrew.
interrupting.
Yes, I will continue because this is my show. So
you know what?
Even the difference in performance between men and women, we can see is impacted by segregating them in the first place. If you tell young girls that girls perform worse on math tests, and then you give them a math test, they will perform worse.
I muted
so
Andrew.
We can see, thank you, I appreciate that, because he's really rude. Man, these people are like, I would like you to educate me, but I'm also going to fucking interrupt you every 20 seconds. Give me a minute to
This
lay
is
out my
exactly
argument,
why I
okay?
said
that's what laying
him
out
saying
an
that
argument
he's
is,
on
Andrew.
Lux's
So,
side.
Even
I did
without
not believe.
talking about
But
trans people.
anyway,
I can demonstrate that we should not have sex segregated sports. And you're going to just laugh at me.
also I'm sorry
even
for
though I
talking
have
over
evidence on my end
stuff
of this.
on the show.
If you
but
segregate sports,
it's
if
fine.
you tell women that they're bad at something, they'll perform worse than a group of women who you don't say that shit to. So the simple fact that we've segregated sex and paternalistically say, it's because you would never win if you competed against a big, strong man. That's why women perform worse. It's because you keep telling them that they're bad. And that results in, across genres, from math performance to sports, it causes them to have poor performance compared to men who are constantly being told that they're the best and they're just incredibly dominant and they're never going to lose. And that's completely not even getting into the trans aspect of it. So, Andrew, I will now give you an opportunity to respond. Thank you for giving me a moment to actually say my piece.
I gotta tell you something that's really crazy before he talks is that I had him muted on my end where I get to see the levels if he's talking. He talked the entire time. The entire time. He didn't listen to a single fucking word you said.
More commentary is better. Always let the intrusive thoughts win.
Andrew. He's not a good
that's dangerous.
or an interlocutor.
That is dangerous.
Okay. And so I'm gonna hold him on mute here, like my little toy, until he drops himself. And we're gonna use this as a nice little platform to talk about the issue. But yeah, it's unfortunate because it is a really interesting topic, and I would like.
But if you want more commentary, go subscribe to my reaction channel. I will put that in the description of this live once it's over. But yeah, go subscribe.
I have good reason to believe that this is actually a really bad argument. That would be totally defensible. But he didn't do that. He just went, ha ha ha, see, you're totally fucking wrong. Like, there's no argument, no quantity, no quality to that discussion. But yeah, I mean, I'm 100% with Lux. when it comes to, are you banning an entire group of people? Okay, you need a really good fucking justification. You really need to be careful to make sure that you aren't unnecessarily excluding people by those methods, like unjustifiably. And the current method that we have does unjustifiably exclude perfectly capable athletes all the time. It's in no way disregards biology or reality or like trends that like men tend to, on average, perform better. It just talks about what is the reasons for those, and are those sufficient justifications to keep trans women out of women's sports. But yeah, I mean, thanks Andrew for giving us a topic to talk about. He did drop, but yeah, no, the
of course he
entire
dropped.
time you were speaking, the entire time he was speaking.
Yeah, I'm catching strays on the misogyny today. That's what I think is going on.
Wild, for real, dude. Yeah, right out the gate. I don't know. It's one of these things. It's like I said earlier, like you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with our position. That's not why we muted you. It's like the whole point of this show, the whole point of all the shows on the line is that we bring together specialists and experts, and whether or not they necessarily have like academic professional qualifications, they're people who've been talking on these issues for a very long time. And we have you guys, the callers, call in to present an argument or a disagreement or a challenge to us that the host, the specialist, will help educate on or dissect the problems with the argument. That's what's going on here. Andrew, like many callers, seems to think that the purpose of the show is that I can give him a microphone so that he can make his argument. And that's simply not what it is. I'm sorry. Like, you're not just going to get to talk here uninterrupted for several minutes, but we do get to talk uninterrupted for several minutes because that's why we're fucking here.
It's their
That's
show.
why we're hired on the team in the first place. So, with all due respect, eat my entire ass and not in a nice way.
And I just want to
This is why I'm Team
people in
Arden.
the chat,
This is 100% why.
So what I said earlier is that lifetime performance differences start in childhood. So if you're going to make an argument that, oh, teenage boys can beat the records of professional women, like, well, those professional women had bad coaches, less funding, less support. And if you're worried about like what Andrew was saying, he's like, well, men are so much bigger, then just make height and weight classes. You don't need to do sex segregation. It's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. It's if somebody else, well, no, I already closed the lines, but if somebody wants to call next week and have that conversation, or wait, when is Lux on? Are you on next week? You and Josie, right?
I don't think next week. I think the week after.
Okay.
13th and 27th, I think.
Well, call next time Lux
but I like
is on.
talking about it.
Yeah.
So
somebody who wants to talk about that, wait for when Lex is on again, and then call it and try to see if we can have a more fruitful discussion than Andrew. All right, we are going to take
typical Andrew.
Let's see, Michael seems interesting, and I guess Brian seems interesting. Although Brian is kind of, let's take Brian. We've had similar calls today, but the rest of them aren't like quite in that same vein. So, Brian in Kentucky, pronouns he, him, has more stories and thoughts about universities scrubbing DEI programs and those kinds of things. So, Brian, you are live with Arden and Lux. Go for it.
Brian is my brother's name.
So, first of all, I find it very out of pocket that Andrew's like, please just, can I interject? Like, because this is something I bitched about the first time I called, which it's like, it takes a second to spout something that is misinformation, and it takes a very long time, like Lux was doing, to go into all of the nuanced stats and data behind something to explain why what they're saying is dumb. So, the whole
and they don't listen.
Is just, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're completely right, Brian. But yeah, go ahead. What do you want to talk about?
So, okay. So, I currently live in Kentucky, but I grew up in Cincinnati, and I hate to be, another bearer of horrifying stories or bad stories or whatever, but there was a lot of drama recently with the University of Cincinnati because they sent out basically a mail that more or less said like, hey, sorry, but we receive federal and state funding, so if we want to keep funding, we're going to comply and strip all references of DEI from all of our programs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then, believe it or not, there were bathrooms on the campus where they replaced the bathroom signs from saying men and women to ones that literally said biological men, biological women. And now they have eventually, they did eventually take those off.
All Andrews are the same. As someone that dated an Andrew, yes.
And I saw some people saying like, well, you got to understand.
No, but
like,
he wasn't that bad, but
employed and they want to keep those people employed and everything.
I don't know.
And
I'm not going to say anything because I think his mom might be watching
this
at some point.
You're just basically saying, fuck trans people and fuck gay people because we want the normies to be okay. That's my take on it. But sometimes I feel like I can be a little too idealistic because a lot of people were saying like, why didn't the university push back on this? And I'm of the mind that like they could have and they should have, kind of like what Lux was talking about as be as resistant as possible. So I guess what are your thoughts on it? Because my thought is just like it's pussy shit behavior. Like fucking step up and take it to the courts. Don't fucking roll over and take it. I don't know. So sorry, talking a while. I want your thoughts on it. So yeah.
Yeah, go for it, lad.
You can jump in. I mean, I was just gonna, restate what I said earlier. Basically, is like, yeah, I completely agree with you, and I, the choice of language, I completely understand as well. Like, it does feel like you're just like these universities, these companies, these corporations, everybody who is capitulating. I'm just like, stop being such a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, stop being such a little baby. Yeah, I completely understand that sentiment. Like, yeah, we need, like, do I have to be the only one in the room who says this is bullshit? Do I have to be the only one in the room?
Mm-hmm.
And that's so frustrating because you're on the front lines of it and you're just standing out there alone, and you know that there are people behind you who could come stand beside you in this fight, metaphorically speaking, and they just won't. And it's because people are scared. And I get it. I understand. It's not just people's jobs. It's people getting arrested. Like our caller earlier didn't just get fired from his teaching job; he was arrested for trying to have a discussion about this thing. He was like the school resource officer just took him away, and now he's under an investigation and can't post on social media. So I understand why people are scared. I am also scared. That's why I moved, and even then, I'm still worried. I'm still concerned. I'm like, who am I talking to? Who knows that I'm trans? Part of it is that I'm like, I don't necessarily want to be recognized from my online activism in real life. That feels weird. But yeah, like for so many people, we are scared for our jobs. We're scared for our livelihoods, for our families, for our lives in some cases. And so it's hard for me as a person who is determined, like I'm the persecuted minority. Like Arden and I, we are the people who are going to be harmed by these things. And yet we're still out here every day showing our faces, living our truths and like arguing for our existence. And yet we stand alone? Like, what the fuck is up with that? Like, what is wrong with all these cis people who aren't even at real risk? Like, oh, find a job. Like, okay, everybody has that problem. You're not unique. Yeah, you're not unique because you lost your job. Fucking figure it out, Like my doctor back in Kansas, he left the practice that he was initially at because they started fucking over trans people. And he was like, you are not going to have me anymore as a doctor here if you keep screwing over my patients and like charging them for stuff that they shouldn't be charged for. And he left his practice. He lost his job. And like, we need more people who are out there willing to put things on the line, willing to sacrifice something, anything. And I just don't know how much we're going to really see it.
Yeah. This is part of why I was saying like I have this fantasy of like, these sort of like commune situations just because
I'm all in.
Right. Yeah. Mostly because that's like the only way we really resist, that we really fight back, is going to be a situation where a lot of people do get fired, where a lot of people do protest and say, no, fuck you. And then everything collapses and they go, okay, we're sorry, come back. We have to have these systems in place. So if that's what it takes, we'll bring you back. And like having those kind of like environments where we're like, hey, yes, you don't have a job, but also you can hang out and sing with us and go get chicken eggs and pick vegetables with us, and then we're all going to eat dinner together. Like that sounds like the beautiful utopian future in my head. But
it's crazy that we live in a culture right now where if we did that successfully, Arden, there's going to be fucking boots. They're going to send boots to our commune.
100%.
Like, I'm just trying to live my life. I'm just trying to do my thing. And you're going to come here and like mess up all my stuff. That's the problem that we're having here is like, we just want to live away from other people. We want to do our thing. We want to be mutually supportive. I don't need any Medicare or whatever. I don't need food stamps because I grow my own food, whatever. Don't need your services. And they still want to come mess with your shit. And it's like, get away from me, actually. Leave trans people alone.
This is where, I can't actually say anymore because I'm going to get myself in trouble. And I would like to
being
keep
a
the
cis
show
person
on
and
air
not
for as
speaking
long as
up is a
possible.
privilege.
Yeah,
Yes,
this is going to be a problem
100%
going
agree.
forward. FYI, we're going to have to be careful, and I know we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to say things we shouldn't say, but not because we shouldn't say them ethically. I think there's maybe a good argument that we should be advocating for the things that I was about to say ethically, but in terms of not wanting to be arrested and wanting to keep our channel online, I will keep my mouth shut. But yeah, I'm very frustrated, Brian, and I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do about all this stuff, and I do think it's mostly community oriented is going to be where a lot of the solutions are. But yeah, it's sickening.
Yeah.
I mean,
I saw in chat someone said specifically that the bathroom signs were related to something specific, and I wanted to talk about that too because it's just complete. It just exposes just the outright absurdity of this like anti-trans legislation. So it's all about Ohio Revised Code 334590, which went in effect on February 25th. It says institutions of higher education must designate multi-occupant student restrooms, student locker rooms, student shower rooms, and student changing rooms for the exclusive use by students of the male biological sex only or by students of the female biological sex only. And so that's why they changed the bathroom signs. But then recently, the president sent out another email saying something to the effect of, oh, we're going to take these down because apparently just saying men's restrooms satisfies that quality. And that just to me is, then why, the whole point is the cruelty. Like that to me just exposes that like, if you're saying that like just saying men's restrooms and just saying women's restrooms is perfectly fine to satisfy that, then the whole point was just that you wanted to dehumanize trans people in legislation. And that is just like, it just exposes it to me. I don't know, but so yeah.
It's interesting because that means that if there was a co-ed locker room, they would have to segregate it. Like, it's interesting. Like any multi-stall restroom cannot be unisex, which I know that most unisex restrooms are single occupancy anyway. But that is really interesting that is the language that they chose to use for this. But you're right. The whole biological males thing, it's only to spit in the face of trans people. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's point is the cruelty. Like it's
it's so weird because I don't even understand what they get out of the cruelty. Like there's no real reward in it for them. They're not real Christians. I don't think any of them have any sincere value towards Christian religious like practice. Performatively, they care because it's important to their constituents, but I don't think any of them as politicians do. So I really don't understand. It's really hard. Like I could at least understand like the trans sports one, right? There's like a rhetorical, strategic motivation there. That makes sense. But like the bathroom stuff, it's like, I don't know.
It's like harder to look at. I guess it's like harder to drum up hysteria around immigrants nowadays. They're still trying, but they had to pick a different group of people, I guess, because it's too abstract. If you live in New York City, it's too abstract for you to think about people coming through the southern border. So they've got to create like a ubiquitous, ever-present, they're lurking in your kids' schools kind of danger that is omnipresent. That's my best guess anyway, is like they're just using us as this like, oh my God, there's this huge problem we've just been ignoring for years. Now give us all the executive power so that we can fix the problem that trans people exist. It's like basically.
I don't get it. And the whole reason I called is when I was looking at the discourse online of people talking about like, well, you've got to understand they need their federal funding and state funding and stuff. It was like those responses were getting a lot of support. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, fuck that, because you're just telling me that, like, yeah, like I said earlier, like basically fuck marginalized people because normal like people that we consider valuable might lose their job. It's like, fuck off. Like,
yeah,
I'm glad I'm not off base there, because
it's hard because
maybe I was just being too idealistic or whatever, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean, there is part of me that has sympathy for that argument, though. Like, I know that from like the perspective of like the, you know, I don't know, someone working at one of the main offices on like the campus or something, right? Like, they are just working a job to take care of their family, to put food on their table. Yeah. And if they're like, oh, take care of people who I don't know, who I have no relationship to, or take care of my family, of course they're going to pick your family. Like, I have sympathy for understanding why people do that. And I don't think it's necessarily malicious or evil, but it is just like so reprehensible. And, you know, I think, should we
also, I think I'm going to be live for like 15 more minutes, and then I'm going
to
end the stream because I do have to
that
prepare some stuff for my meeting, and I do need to get some schoolwork done.
These events with a lot of shame and disappointment, but man, I don't fucking know what the future holds.
But I wanted
anymore,
to do this live because I promised people I would. So
I thought I had some broad strokes pictures, but now it's just no fucking clue.
Yeah, and like I do too. I see what you're saying about like understanding that, but yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It all just goes back to, I mean, I've talked before in previous calls about being gay. It's just like when your literal existence is political, like you don't ever get to do that calculus. That calculus is not available to you because no matter what happens, you will be impacted, and it's just so frustrating for people to be doing calculus on your right to
successful so far.
I don't even know if this has really hit the news yet, Brian, but like one of the I think it's House of Representatives people, his name is Josh something, just proposed or he's basically drafting a request to the Supreme Court to ask them to reverse their decision about same-sex marriage.
Oh, I heard. Yeah, I heard.
They're coming for y'all too, like, and you know that. Like, I'm just for chat. Everybody might not know that this is something that is going on too. Yeah, but they're gonna come for interracial marriage. They're gonna come for gay marriage. It's not just trans people. And they're coming for disabled people too. They're talking about like people who are on ADHD medication are like bad for the country, and I'm like, I'm glad that I haven't been taking it that much lately, which means that I have some, because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it in the future now.
Yeah, they've added A onto DEI too. Now it's DEIA, which is for ability.
Oh, great. Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's great. That's like the one thing that I can't hide. Like, I can't pretend I'm not that, so I don't know what's gonna happen. It's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, Brian, we appreciate you calling in, because a big part of this episode has been focusing on the ways in which, despite the fact that this, you know, the executive orders are not legislation, they are just sort of directive for how to interpret and apply legislation. States are doing it. Schools are doing it. Institutions are doing it. And people are suffering. They're losing their job. Queer kids are losing their community. Like, this is happening now. And it's good for our audience to be able to hear that, because hopefully that motivates the middle of the road people to go, well, all of this stuff is maybe not such a good idea, or to be like, fuck it, I'm picking up my pitchfork, I'm joining the rallying cry, I shall say. Anyway, Brian, thank you so much for calling. If there's anything else you want to add, I'm happy to give you.
Oh, I missed the second part. Successful stream so far.
No, not at all. Just thanks for all you guys do. I'm sorry, all bad news, but I love the show.
I did not fully read that. My bad.
Love you all. Thanks for everything you do. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye. Yeah, can't help that it's all bad news when it's just all bad news. I mean,
not your fault. Like,
right.
I'm watching Star Wars Andor, and it's really good. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it.
Hey, there's some good news.
For me. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. All right. I'm just gonna. Well, wait. Hold on. Is there any? guess we'll take Michael, and then we'll probably go in order after that. So Michael, he, him in New York, has a question about the term assigned male at birth. The use of the word implies agency. Yeah, I'm curious about your take on this, Michael. So go ahead. You are live with Arden and Lux. What's going on?
Hello. Man, I have to tell you, sitting on hold and listening to all these horrific, this is a very scary time. And I know it's difficult for a lot of people to stick to their guns right now. So I appreciate what y'all are doing on this show. And I'm just one straight white guy, but I want you to know I'm here with you the whole way. So whatever that counts for.
Thanks, Michael.
Sign me up.
Right on.
I'm here to learn. The term assigned at birth, to me, assigned feels like an act that's deliberate, so an agency or a creator or something like that. And I'm just wondering if there's any dialogue around that phrase or something I'm missing, or is there a different way to say that type of thing that doesn't sort of imply almost like an intelligent design or a deity or anything like that?
Yeah. So the term assigned male at birth is actually developed mostly to be like kind of a legal term. So we're basically saying that with the limited information that the doctor had at the time you were born, which was probably just, does this infant have a penis or not?
And how big is the penis?
Right.
Which is a weird thing. Yeah.
Yeah. They there is some sort of measurement indicator when it's ambiguous. Basically, the doctor evaluates you and decides whether or not you should be male or female. And while that is probably right the vast majority of the time, I'm not trying to suggest that like it's completely arbitrary. There's a lot of instances where it's not right. So the whole point is mostly to make it like a legal term. Like I was assigned male at birth. I'm not necessarily like, it's a way of kind of trying to like, I guess I'm kind of losing the words. Lux, do you want to jump in on that?
Sure. Yeah, basically like what we're talking about here is, that someone just kind of looks at you externally and then they create a label that they put on you and that you carry with you for the rest of your life, unless you get it legally changed or something, right? You could, I guess, if the word assigned is triggering something a little funny in your brain, you might think of it as like designated, maybe rather than assigned. But like, it's basically just saying, this is what was determined about me without my consent by a doctor. And I guess like society in general, or like your parents might also have an opinion about how big the penis is, because then the parents can decide whether to have you surgically altered if you are intersex at birth. Or if you're ambiguous genitalia, obviously intersex at birth situation. So yeah, I mean, it's basically just, I think also a way for trans people to abstract themselves somewhat from this external designation that someone else made. Like I know that for me, me saying I am female is like I'm claiming it as like a thing that I accept as part of me, when in actuality it was something that was done to me when I was born. Like it was given to me when I was born. So if I say I was assigned female at birth, that's more like, that's not my problem. I didn't do that. That had nothing to do with me. And now I recognize that that designation, first of all, might not even be accurate because I think I have an intersex condition, but also I am trans. So it's like not accurate in the longer term of like the fact that sex is also a way that we identify ourselves in society. I don't know. Does that make any sense, Michael?
Yeah, it makes tremendous sense. So assigned by the doctor, that makes complete sense. Thank you. I always sort of kind of in my brain it was like, God made me or whatever, and that's just it seemed like sort of maybe personifying what is basically a random biological process. So no, that that definitely clears it up, and I really appreciate explaining it to me. Thank you.
Yeah. How about we can help, Michael? Thanks for calling in.
Thanks.
Bye.
That was so quick.
I know. I love it. That was so easy. And somebody who just like takes in information and goes, "Oh, I was wrong. Okay.
That was a successful call,
lying, but
Michael was so respectful
and internalize
and
the words that you said. Like, oh my God, it's
actually
amazing.
Took in the words as Arden said and wasn't trying to
take our next call. We have 3 callers up. We're going to get to all of you. If you hit like or subscribe on this video, it's totally free and it helps massively. All those little buttons that you press, the like, even if you hit dislike,
that was
any
good.
engagement
Yeah, it was.
helps the video perform well. So click all those buttons, do the things, leave comments. I'll probably tag some merch a little bit later in the show. So if you're see something pop up and you're like, ooh, that's really cute, you should click that. Check it out. See if you want it. Because even just clicking it is gonna help us. So let's take Giddy, pronouns he, him in Utah, has siblings who've asked him to challenge their transphobic views. How to know if they are actually open to changing their own beliefs. So Giddy, you are live. Help with Arden and Lux. Help me understand exactly what we're talking about here.
I thought Arden said Gibby at first, and my brain went to iCarly.
Jordan Shapiro type thing. And so they always express that they are always open to facts and will change their views when presented with new information. But they're also
Bryce said embrace the intrusive thought, so there you go. That's my intrusive thought.
So and they want to have a discussion with logic, sources, whatnot. But I don't know if they are ready mentally, or like if their process of research allows them to actually challenge themselves in any meaningfully skeptical way that isn't just pseudo-intellectualism.
I mean,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it is interesting when people profess to have this value, because the thing is, I could point you to resources of like, here's the data that you could point to. But the problem with people like that is that they tend to go, well, that data's not valid because such and such reason that I just fucking made up on the spot. I don't like that organization that commissioned that result, or I don't like the person who wrote that paper. I think they're biased. It's like the situation we have with this judge right now, where they're trying to say she's biased because she's a lesbian, so she can't rule on the trans issue.
Yeah.
They'll just come up with bullshit to disregard your evidence. Now, I hope that this person actually believes that, like, the process of coming to truth is by evidence and the scientific method. That may or may not be the case. But if you want to talk about, like, if there's any particular argument that you feel like you really could use some direction, or like you want some specific resources to pull from, we might be able to help you kind of pick out, what might be some.
All right, everyone, I'm gonna end the stream here. But thanks everyone for watching, and Bryce for commenting, being my one supporter. But you know what? It's fine. I'm so awkward. Okay. But I'm gonna also have a video upload tomorrow. So you guys are getting 3 videos from me. What a special week. Yeah. Tomorrow's video, I'm gonna be talking about my experiences with rejection, sensitivity, how that affects me and whatnot. So, probably gonna cry, but I need to get my feelings out because I am working on embracing my feelings. So, yeah, but I will see you all in that video tomorrow. Thanks again for watching. I will put the line in the description and my reaction channels so you can see my reactions to other things if you even want to. I don't blame you if you don't. But yeah. I don't have an outro, so I'm just gonna end my stream. I'm working on it, but yeah. I love you too, Bryce. Okay, but I'm ending my stream.